This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Ah, yes. Welcome back to Boomer Life here on CL 650. We're all happy together, courtesy of the Turtles there and great 60s music, as we talk about retirement living on this edition of the program with our guests from Revera Retirement Living. Kerry Jackson is Revera's Regional Director of Operations for British Columbia. Joining us in studio as well is Janice Correa, one of the newest Revera team members here in BC. And joining us from Ontario and Revera at Elmsmere in Ottawa is Carole Desjardins. Nice to have all three of you with us. Now, Janice, this one's on you, kid, because Revera, 2 weeks into the mission, by now you should have at least learned by rote the 4 pillars upon which Revera Living builds its business.
Well, I can't answer that. Thanks, Sterling. Of the 40,000 employees that we have at Revera, there's one thing that we all share, and that is our core values. So the first one is respect. Everyone that comes into our building, everyone that we deal with the utmost respect of each individual, as well as each other in our environment. Integrity is another thing. What we say we do, what we do we say, and doing the right thing is the most important thing to us. Excellent. We want to be the best. We want to provide the best services, the best community. We want to have the best staff, and that's what we strive for on a daily basis. And the last thing, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but it's compassion. And that's very important. It's a very difficult decision at times when someone is coming in to see us. And we have to be very compassionate to their needs and their wants, and just really be there for them.
Lesson well learned.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Janice. But, ReveraLiving.com, by the way, is the website. And, of course, you can learn more about all of those 4 integral values that the company is all about. And there's quite a description of the way Revera does business. It's on the website. Plus, if you go to ReveraLiving.com and you're interested in, say, Crofton Manor in Kerrisdale, then you just click on that icon and off you go for a full-on tour of Crofton Manor, right, Karen?
Absolutely.
So wanted to talk a little bit also about something you mentioned, Carol, in our first segment, because you are a lifestyle consultant. You
Correct.
and Janice are the people that, when we boomers are investigating retirement living on behalf of our parents, and of course a lot of seniors go, I don't need my kids to do this. I can handle this. I'll just go do it myself. Thank you very much. And they also approach you and come to your offices and sit down. You mentioned the STAR system.
Correct.
As we have, and we rate things by stars.
Absolutely.
So how does the STAR system apply to a retirement living community? Explain it, Carol, please.
Well, basically, just like a hotel, you would have extra services at a higher star level than others. As example, if you're living in a 3-star retirement community with Revera, we all offer a joint way of transportation, example, to go to the mall or to do little outings like that. But we would not provide a personal driver or service to go to your doctor's appointments. As soon as you get into a 4-star, then there are those extra services.
Okay.
So you would add, maybe once a week, that particular day, there are services to bring you to your doctor's appointments. When you get to a 5-star, then you get that chauffeur on site 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that is a full-on service to you to go shopping or anything else that you might need to do.
So how does this work? Because you also explained the whole business of assisted living and independent living and so on. Now, clearly that is dependent on your ability to meet the physical criteria, and we'll talk about those. In terms of the STAR system, though, do Revera communities rate themselves, or can you, as a resident, have a 3-star relationship with your community, a 4 or 5-star? How does that work, Carrie? How does the STAR system apply in an individual context in a community?
Well, I think in BC, our communities are all 4 and 5 star.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
that's rated within Riviera, but that's not necessarily posted onto our website. Again, it's just measuring the level of services that we have available for the resident and for the families, and we're always striving to improve upon those services. And part of that is when we do annual resident satisfaction and family satisfaction surveys, and we take that information and ask the residents what's important to you, and that's how we build for the future. So we're looking at, maybe what was important to our seniors and our residents 10 years ago has changed, and we're going to continue to see that as the boomers start to age.
Oh, we're coming at you.
Absolutely, with a whole new set of rules.
You think you got your hands full now? Just wait till we get to your place.
Oh, we're not waiting. That's the thing. We're not waiting. We're planning ahead.
One of the things that Janice mentioned a few moments ago in terms of the 4 pillars upon which Riviera operates all of its communities all across Canada was compassion. And that stuck out, and Janice saved that to the last, and it stuck out to me as being probably, Carrie, the biggest difference between running a hotel-type business and running a seniors community. In the hotel, your guests are there maybe a week, usually a couple of days, and, you give them what they want and send them on their way. Well, a retirement community is exactly the opposite. These people, you hope, are going to be your guests for a good long stay. And so you have to pay a lot more attention to them personally and to what their needs are as well, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's about the lifestyle consultant spending the time with the resident before they're a resident to really learn about them and identify their needs, their wants, what are the desires that they have, and, tailoring the suite and tailoring their experience to them, and that's what builds retention.
Now, this is leading nicely, and thank you, for up to something Carol was talking about before we went on the radio today, and that's a new deal called Live Well. This is a program and an attitude. It's not just a program, it's a way of doing business. It's a company attitude. Live Well.
Absolutely. It's a way of life for all of our communities, and basically this program was designed specifically to really tailor to each of our clients exactly what they need. They're no longer buying a package where they have all kinds of services they're not really interested in, or that don't really specifically need it. This is really tailored to the individual. So once someone arrives into our community, we basically spend about 3 hours with them, really looking at all aspects of their lives, physical, medical, social needs. It really entails a whole different discovery, and this gives us a much better picture of the individual.
Okay, now let me stop you there because I want to carry on from that point, but let me back you up a little. Because when the person first comes into the community, the option of independent living versus assisted living, or what is item 3? I keep forgetting it. It's extended care.
Yeah, residential care.
Residential care. The person who comes to a Riviera community like Crofton Manor, their physical well-being will determine what type of accommodation they're available for. How does that work, Carrie? The initial, because what Carol is talking about, and I really want to go into this, is the extended assessment. But how initially does a person become assessed as to the type of accommodation they're going to get in the first place?
Yeah, so again, during the initial meeting with the lifestyle consultant, that's where we dive in and find out about their medical needs. What are they doing socially? What is their timeline for choosing a retirement community?
Right.
And with the medical piece, again, it's just identifying whether they're able to, make sound decisions. Obviously, their cognitive ability is big. So for independent living, you need to, as a resident, be able to make your own decisions.
Right.
So if
thus the word independent.
Exactly.
Right.
So if there's any cognitive impairment that restricts your ability, then that's where you would need to move into more of the care environment.
Okay.
Because families will then shouldn't be the primary source of decision making.
Okay, but regardless of whether you end up, Carol, in independent living or assisted living, you're still going to go through this Live Well extended arrival assessment. So there's two sets of assessments. One, to determine where you should go in the community in the first place. So once that's settled, then you move in, then begins the whole Live Well program. And that begins with a fairly extensive look at the new arrival. And you spend a lot of time just talking to people, just discussing their lives, their passions, their hobbies, their interests, and perhaps their goals as well, right?
Absolutely, their goals. I've seen many instances. Well, in my building, I remember, and this lady is still with us today, coming into our facility, and basically the daughter told us, Mom really doesn't communicate. She doesn't talk. She doesn't really interact with anybody. She's really more of a self body and stays in her room, and that's the way I've known Mom for all of those years. And 3 months in, she is the most chatty lady I've ever met. She is going about it, and
she's been saving it up for a while.
Oh my gosh, has she? Yes, definitely. And that is amazing how she actually came out of her shell completely. Another instance where someone coming into our home basically was using a walker but having difficulty, was really looking to invest into a wheelchair.
Right.
And after doing the assessment, well, we said, you know what, if we do this, this, and this, we could definitely improve. And today, that person is walking with a cane.
Interesting.
So
she took off in the other direction.
Exactly.
No chair, just down to a cane. Thank you.
Exactly.
And how long you want to bet before that's going to go away too, right?
Definitely, definitely. So really, that's why the Live Well program is so well suited for our people coming in, because it's not all about what is coming in the future, but how can we make them feel 10 years younger and do things that they never thought they could do again in their lives. So it's really about keeping their individuality, their spirit. It's really from head to toe change, basically.
In any company that believes strongly in customer satisfaction, there is a great desire for feedback from said customers. Revera is a relentless surveyor of its residents. You just never stop asking, how you doing? How's life here? Are you having a nice time? And annually, you do a survey of every person in Canada in every Revera community, and it comes back year after year after year. 97% of people living in Revera communities, their only beef is that they should have moved here earlier. Isn't that a nice problem to have?
Absolutely.
So what would be a typical age of someone coming into a Revera community like Crofton, Carrie? And what would you like to see that age become in the years ahead?
So right now, the average age of people coming into our retirement communities is pushing 87.
Okay.
And, several years ago, that number was closer to 83, and we'd love to see that number, come back down into that early 80s, so that people have the opportunity to enjoy their retirement with us and the peace of mind that they have, and not having to deal with responsibilities of home ownership or just the responsibilities of day-to-day caretaking.
Right.
And again, often we find with couples, where one is the caregiver for the other.
Yes.
And, as their partner's care deteriorates, so does theirs.
Yes.
Because, they get caregiver burnout.
Absolutely.
Come into our communities and let us help take that burden off of you. And it's amazing to see they can become a couple again. And it's not a relationship of
full of stress.
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah. It's great to have you with us, Carol, from Ottawa. Just for comparison purposes, if, as Carrie states, here in British Columbia, the average retirement community residence age is somewhere in the mid to high 80s, is it the same in your area in Ontario?
It is, exactly. In my building, I would say the average age is about 85.
Right.
And more and more getting closer to the 90 mark. And really, I think that the goal goal would be to get people coming in starting at 75, because honestly, this gives a better quality of life for everyone. And I'm not just talking about the resident themselves. I'm talking about the children, you know, the daughter, the son that has to go on a Saturday, do groceries for mom, go get the prescription for mom, do this for mom. And really, once they're in our homes, then we are able to manage that. So the visit of the daughter coming in to see mom is actually about laughing, enjoying the meal, and just really living life fully and not having to worry, well, do I have time in my schedule between ballet recital for my daughter and etc. Right. So it's really a healthier living for the family as a whole and not just the individual.
What about grandkids? If there are grandkids around and they want to go hang out and stay with grandma for a weekend, is that cool? Can they?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, you got to check these details,
absolutely.
Carrie. Come on.
Yeah, we have some residents where they'll have their family stay right in their suite.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Or we have guest suites as well,
so,
hotel suites.
You have options.
We have options, absolutely.
And I guess my point here with that, it may have sounded like a silly question because you laughed, but it goes back, Carol, to this notion, this antique notion that some of our seniors have about, you know, if you put you in one of those places, you'll never be heard from again. And you know, God forbid what they'll do to you once you get there. You know, and there's this bizarre thought process around what an old folks' home once was 50 years ago, and how that couldn't possibly have changed. They're still horrible places. Well, if anything, it's a different world. It is 50 years later. It is almost 2015, for crying out loud. Yep. And everything is different, especially seniors' communities.
100%. 100%. Very, very different than what it was 20, 30, 50 years ago. Absolutely. That's why I always tell someone when the answer says, oh, no, I'm not ready. And no, well, maybe in a couple of years. And I say to them, you know what? I don't like cooking myself. So why don't you just come and join me for a meal, and we'll have a meal on Crofton and enjoy the company, just chat, and then you're on your way back home.
Sure.
It's just a very open-minded concept that we have, and that's why we have lifestyle consultant in all of our buildings, because we are really the person of contact, the person of confidence, the person that can actually help you navigate through the system, find the exact home. I know for myself, if somebody comes into Ellesmere Place and they say, well, this is not really what I want, you know, I want this, this, and this, well, I'm more than happy to give them a hand to find the exact home that they are suited for.
Right. Okay, good stuff. We have two lifestyle consultants in studio. How bonus all around. We have Carol Desjardins from Revera's Ellesmere project in Ottawa. Janice Correa is a lifestyle consultant with Crofton Manor right here in Vancouver. And the boss, also in the studio, is Carrie Jackson, Regional Director of Operations for Revera, British Columbia. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650, and we're back with more after this.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.